Good morning. Welcome to A Few Minutes with Margie. I'm Margie Lyman with Dudum Real Estate Group, and today I'm here with Valerie Howard. Nice to see you. Thank you for your time. Valerie is the owner of the Farmers Agency, insurance agency here in Danville, and we are right on Railroad Avenue in a lovely upstairs suite. It's really nice here, and you've got great parking.
That's important.
It is. It does matter. It does matter. So Valerie handles insurance, personal lines, home, property, auto,
Umbrella.
life,
Yes.
the whole bit. And California, insurance is changing a lot. And I really wanted to ask you some questions about that. And you're a local native. You're from Pacifica, right?
Pacifica.
Yeah.
Yes. Many years of fog.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. So, but today, with everything that's going on and insurance carriers leaving California and people who are trying to buy new properties, and it is now, as a realtor, now it's an absolute requirement. It's something that we have to look into right in the very beginning of a transaction, and it didn't used to be that way. Can you tell me a little bit about why home insurance companies are leaving California?
Well, there's a real profitability issue for many of the carriers.
Okay.
And they simply have found that they're unable to get the rates that they need based on their projections. And as a result, it makes more sense for them to do business outside of the state of California, even though the state of California is an enormous market.
Yeah.
And a part of it comes down to they would like to be able to use modeling because they know that climate change is going to be in our future, and the regulatory environment hasn't allowed them to do that in the past. It's
Right.
wanted them to look at the last 20 years.
Right.
And they want to be able to use information from the next 20 years. So that's one of the issues.
Well, that sounds to me like it would take a whole mind shift for
It does.
the people who, the insurance commissioners and the people that make those rules and regulations.
Exactly. And Gavin Newsom, a couple of weeks ago, late September, had signed an executive order asking for Commissioner Laura to get involved and to allow some of that modeling to be considered. Also to allow them to incorporate reinsurance costs, which is when somebody insures their book of business.
Okay.
And
So an insurance carrier like Farmers would insure all the policies that they carry.
exactly.
That's what reinsurance is.
Right, so that they get kind of extra protection. And the trade-off would be that they would ask that the insurance marketplace insures or gives access to 85% of the market. So they want to know that that carriers will go back into some of those troubled areas.
Interesting. Why would Newsom have to ask the insurance commissioner to do that? Wouldn't she or he or they do it anyway?
Well, there was a proposition passed many years ago that had certain
Oh.
rules, and I think we've operated that way for a long time.
I see.
People far above me would be able to tell you whether it was or was not successful, but I think there are some things, climate change most pronounced,
Right.
that have fundamentally changed the math of insuring homes in California.
I see.
And so they're having to revisit what rules really make sense.
And is that one of the reasons why our insurance costs are going up so much?
I think they're trying to, fairly pass along costs based on the risks that they see, and they learn more every year.
Okay.
But the reality is that there are in fact more floods and damage to homes.
Fires and
A
we
lot
all
of-
know that. Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of bad
So-
things. And we've also seen inflation costs in terms of labor to get these homes repaired and costs for materials. So everything sadly is escalated.
Yeah, the supply and demand as well, right? But what should first-time homeowners understand about trying to get their property covered and they've never had a home before?
Yeah.
They have no track record.
I think most important, just to get started early, to understand something about the home that you're buying, understand some of the features. We tend to focus on, it's got beautiful light coming in the windows, but from an insurance carrier standpoint, they're concerned about what the home is made of, what the repair history has been light,
I see.
and the kind of condition of the property.
And Farmers is offering insurance.
Yeah, we are fortunately one of the companies that's still writing home insurance.
New policies.
So we're writing new home policies. There's a lot of misinformation and obviously more than one carrier with the word farmers in it. So.
Yeah. Well, that's okay. But so when a house is being put on the market, most people do a lot of disclosures. Is that something that the insurance company would be interested in, and you would take a look at those disclosures, inspections, previous claims and things like that?
The insurance for farmers, we're using A+ for data that pulls into our system. So if we put in an address or a homeowner name and date of birth, it's going to pull in certain data points for us.
Okay.
I think the inspection is really helpful to a homeowner to better understand maybe the history of that property. But sometimes if a home is passed from a couple of different individuals, it may not bring in a lot of data.
Got it.
But yeah, understanding sort of what's happened. It's not uncommon for me to pull in a claim that may have happened a few years ago that the homeowner is unaware.
Because it was a previous owner or something. Got it. And what's the best way to save money on trying to institute a new insurance policy?
Yeah, there's a lot of little things we can do. Certainly, you can always look at deductibles, increasing deductibles.
Okay.
You can look at consolidating your policies so that you might combine your home and your auto. That's a very big discount.
And it's nice to have everything in one spot.
Makes it easier too. Yeah.
Yes.
There were also discounts for different safety features that people might have installed in a home or would consider putting in their home to make it safer.
Oh.
And more we're seeing that there are credits given for that kind of behavior.
Alarms, burglar alarms,
Shut-off valves.
Okay.
Yeah. If you can strengthen or harden your home in any way that makes it less likely to incur severe damage, that's a big plus for not only the insurance company but for the homeowner.
Yeah, that's for sure. But what about purchasing home insurance in an area like Tahoe or Arnold or something like that?
An area that's kind of known for being high risk and
Yes.
has beautiful trees. Yeah. So we always have the sort of insurer of last resort, the California Fair Plan.
Right. I'm familiar
And
with that.
the Fair Plan is really helpful and will write, most anything
Okay.
that, is not currently on fire. And you usually, it's not 100% policy in terms of its protection, so it leaves certain holes, and you partner it with a DIC or a difference in condition policy. And when you take a Fair Plan and a DIC policy, it's going to give you pretty solid coverage, not just for the
interesting.
property, but for your contents, for liability. So we sell a fair number of those for people that are buying homes, seasonal homes in particular.
Right. And so are you the one who puts that program all together, a Fair Plan and the DIC?
Yeah.
That's as though that's not
Yeah,
on the
not-
consumer or on the
No.
homeowner.
Usually whoever provides the DIC, the difference in condition policy, will also secure you a policy with the Fair Plan. And the rate is the same regardless of which carrier you go through.
Interesting. Okay, so it's about customer service then, and
Yes.
providing the personal touch and staying involved. Interesting.
And again, it takes a little more time because you have to submit photos in advance, so it's just another reminder to start early.
Good point. And what is the best way to maximize your insurance to be able to reduce costs in the future? You're making your home more resistant to damage and just...
Keeping defensible space, doing all those things that really show sort of pride of ownership.
Okay.
And just being conscientious and aware. I think a lot of it right now is just making people aware of what they can do to really reinforce the strength of their home and its ability to withstand fire.
Yeah.
A lot of it is just an educational process, and I think that's what the industry is after as well.
Now, if I recall, then sometimes an inspector or adjuster, I don't know who it would be, would come out to the property and actually make sure that it was up to the standards that it should be to be safe.
Every carrier deals with it a little bit differently, but typically once a policy goes into force, then there is an inspection after the fact. Sometimes you might submit photos in advance, but there'll be an actual inspection. Sometimes it's done by a live person, other times they have you submit photos.
Okay.
But they want to make sure that the features all match up and that everything is secure and that there hasn't been something not disclosed that would severely impact somebody's ability to insure the home.
Got it. And it sounds to me like, while this is a very stressful situation, it sounds to me like if you can get the right agent and agency, you'll be able to have it be a lot less stressful, because it sounds to me like you sort of meld everything together and present the package for people instead of having them try to piecemeal it themselves.
Yeah, I'm always surprised when I go even to industry events that people say to me, oh, I understand you're not writing insurance, or we can't get insurance. And it is more challenging. I think if you were used to buying a home on Saturday and you called up on Friday, you could get a policy issued, in the past. It's not that simple, but it's by no means unavailable. There are a lot of different options, but it does require bobbing and weaving. And so if a home has prior losses, you might have to approach it differently, but there are lots and lots of solutions. It's just a little more time consuming. And so, yeah, finding an agent that's willing to put in a little bit of the legwork is important.
That sounds fabulous. Now, is hazard policy the same as a fire policy and a home policy? What are all these terminologies that we're seeing? What do they mean?
Yeah, all the buzzwords.
Yeah.
And everybody has a slightly different interpretation. Yeah. Oftentimes mortgage companies will say we need a hazard policy. So I think most of the time people are buying a homeowner policy, and it's going to include coverage for the dwelling, for any detached or separate structures on the home. It's going to include money for loss of use, for personal property, and for liability. And so a homeowner's policy is sort of a package of different coverages. Sometimes a hazard policy might just refer to the property alone. In most cases, people want the full package.
Okay. Well, we are celebrating the anniversary of the Oakland fire and the great earthquake this month. So those are
an unusual celebration.
Yeah, definitely not a celebration, but it's something that's behind us. So all those catastrophic events are taken into consideration, correct?
I think as the industry learns more and more about where risk lies, they try to spread fairly and make rules and regulations that fairly address where they see risk.
Okay.
And certainly, I think homeowners in those areas are much more aware.
Of course. Yeah. What about if a property has had multiple claims against it, but it's been, rebuilt, but there's still a lot of claims against it?
So every carrier is going to look and interpret that information a little bit differently.
Okay.
But certainly if a home has been rebuilt from the ground up, the home itself would probably be built with better standards than maybe the original structure, but it might indicate that the area is riskier, maybe no longer from trees, but from potential flooding.
That's
so
not going to go away,
Yeah, so it might be, the nature of the risk might be a little bit different.
Okay. And what about second homes or rentals or things like that?
So those can all be insured. The policies are written slightly differently depending on the usage.
I see.
And so it's important to kind of explain. Sometimes I'll have people say, do you write home policies? Yes. And then they explain to me that they plan on, renting it out to a tenant.
Okay.
That's a different usage. And so it's the structure, but it's also how you plan to use the property. Is it a secondary home or a seasonal or a short-term rental? So what the usage is important, not just the structure.
Okay. And what's the best way for people to get in touch with you? I know you're right here downtown, but
we don't have a lot of walk-ins, but phone, text, email, all of those ways.
All right, I'll be sure to include all of that information that will be in the body of this interview. So thank you so much. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. It's such important information, and not just for people who are buying a home for the first time, but for people who want to make sure that their home is safe and they're covered in case something does happen. So thank you. Margie Lyman, Dudum Real Estate Group. If you know anybody who'd like to be on A Few Minutes with Margie, please let me know. Thank you.